episode of What If It's Cool, the show where we talk about anything and everything that is cool in the world today. I am divorced at first sight, Daniel Paulcrow, and on this episode, I have a sit-down interview with Tommy Hellfire. We talk about how he got into the world of professional wrestling, starting MCW and working with Lucha Fantastica, and the main reason why he's here to talk about Married at First Sight. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Got Nothing to Complain About with Tommy Hellfire.
Thank you for being part of the show. I know you're busy looking after and firstly, let me congratulate you on the birth of your son. I know you're looking after him. Yeah.
I know, right? You want to see what I got in the background here? I got the Mickey Mouse wet wipes. So there you go. This is what I'm dealing with over here. Little beanies and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit of a departure from the Tommy Hellfire character, isn't it?
Oh, mate, just reminds me of my days when I was rated again. I had the Spider-Man wipes and I had what was it? I can't remember if it was Mickey Mouse as well, or but I had little booties and everything as well around the house. And geez, those were fun times. But yeah. I know everyone who wanted you on the show have asked me to talk about math.
Yeah. Okay. You know that was a long time ago. But
I know okay. It was a long time ago, and I really want to talk about your wrestling career, but everyone keeps baffing on. And finally, about 16 hours ago, I did manage to cave in on. Okay, it's probably like one episode because I've never watched math in my life, so I didn't know there was a full series with you on it, and I couldn't stop watching it until about what time I went to bed last night? 4:00. I have never been that angry ever in my entire life at watching a TV show.
She's all right. my little Turkish delight. Yeah, no, she's all right.
We'll get into math a little bit later, but I do want to get to know you about your wrestling career. Now, I want to firstly mention something that happened off camera years ago. I'm not sure if you even remember it because the very first wrestler I ever met out in the world, as they say, was you at my regular 9 to 5. I was working at the time. Do you remember this? Job? Yeah, back then. I don't work there anymore. I work somewhere much better pay and a lot more nicer staff.
Cool. No, I do remember this because in wrestling, it's always one of those in jokes when you get recognized. You always you tell somebody to get recognized and everybody's like, bullshit, you got recognized. I'm like, no, I did. I swear to God. I was actually, I do remember this because I was on my way to a GPW show out there in Traralgon. I think I was filling up on the way through and then, I can't remember what I was doing. I was probably buying something I shouldn't have been buying. And then I remember you like, aren't you that? And I was like, oh my God, oh fuck. I was like, oh my God, do I snap into character? What do I do?
I've never been that nervous.
If you know me outside of wrestling, you know that I'm really quite a just like a giggly dopey dude, kind of like Shaggy. So I was like, oh, what do I do?
I was nervous because I was like, I remember exactly because my voice broke. I went, you're Tommy Hellfire, right? And you just went, yep. And I shook your hand and everything. I'm actually pretty sure I paid for your fuel too, from memory. I'm pretty sure I paid for it because we were talking so much, and I just let you go. And I looked at it, and went, "Can you pay?" I went, "No." I went, "I'll just pay it."
Oh my God! Wow. I want to say thank you, but at the same time, I just want to go, "What a mark! What a mark!" Oh, brother, I think I owe you.
No, don't even worry about it. So that was like what, 10 years ago? It doesn't matter.
Something like crazy long time ago. My God.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea. I probably because like my partner now, she's always like, you have no idea anything with your bank details, anything like this, or anything. You don't follow any of it. So if you did pay for it, I wouldn't have noticed because I'm that friggin' useless. So sorry about that.
No, mate, it was an honor. It really was because literally, I'm just like I'm seeing someone who I love in the wrestling industry, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to meet him. Jeez.
Thank you. Give myself the honor. That's
how did you?
Soundbite.
I'm gonna replay this. I'm just like, dude, you were such a nerd for doing that. Like, I don't care. That's gold for me. I love moments like that.
Yeah, make sure you get in the part where I called you a mark.
Oh man, I'm happy to be called a mark. How did you actually get into wrestling? Because I've been watching you since 2020. I'm gonna say 2010 to 2011. I think was when I first really started to see you. But when did you actually get in?
Mate, I started in 2006, I believe. So I was always like a music and drama student at school. I know with my tough guy exterior, you think that I was in the sports team, but no, I was like a music and drama kid. So, and I was in a band, and we thought we were going to make it. We're playing every night. The band was called Prolapse, and I couldn't figure out why we never made it.
Hey, whoa. Hey, Prolapse.
Prolapse. We used to have a T-shirt that always said Prolapse and let it all hang out.
Do you happen to remember a band by the name of Ruckus, or at the time they would have been called Joystick or Ruckus with just a K?
I think so. Something like that. It was a very long time ago.
Yeah. Do you remember a fat guy with long hair?
Was that you?
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
That's why I know you. I'm like, well, hang on. Because when I saw you at PCW, I was like, why do I know this guy?
Who's this mysterious character? There you go. I was in Prolapse.
Man, I can't remember if we did shows with you, or we did or we opened for you or something. But I remember the band, and
small world, eh?
Yeah, I know. Jeez,
we were destined to do this.
Yeah. But so you've gone into the music industry, but what exactly happened there? Now I want to know exactly what happened with this band.
Basically, we were partying like we were Guns N' Roses, but without any of the success. So we were doing we're playing Saturday nights, Friday nights, and then instead of band practice, we would just be booking gigs Wednesday nights in front of 20 people, whatever. We didn't care, just go. But I think when you're so young and you romanticize about this is the core group, you kind of get I don't know, sort of stuck with that core group. Even though a few of those people in the core group, amazing. A few other people probably, could have moved on here or there. But if it wasn't going to be those guys, it just wasn't going to happen. So eventually, shit happens, a few people go to jail, a few people move on, and you just and you think to yourself, you know what, this party lifestyle, I was in my early 20s and I'm like, it's cool. I need to do something where I'm not relying on other people. Something that's a little bit more individual, something that, where I am my own person and I don't have to, drag the whole band along with me. So then I got into pro wrestling. And of course, for the first few years of pro wrestling, the party lifestyle followed me. Nobody went to jail, but the party lifestyle followed me. That's why you talk to rookies today, they go you guys used to do what? But so the band broke apart. I got into wrestling. It was about 2006, and I started at PWA in Melbourne, because it used to be different branches of PWA, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was a PWA in Melbourne. There was one in Sydney, Adelaide, Queensland. I think the only one that's still left now is Sydney. Actually, I know. Yeah, that's the only one still left.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So so I started with PWA in Melbourne before they actually shut down. So yeah, that was 2006, 2007. Yeah, a long time ago now, isn't it? Oh my God.
We're old. But what was I doing in 2000? Oh yeah, that's right. I was being a failed actor. That's right. Jeez.
I've done that too, mate. I've done that too. No stress.
Well, I mean, James Bolton is being successful, so he can live through that for us.
I was about to say we can't all be James Boltons.
No.
he was actually at the show the other day, and he did a promo, and some people came up to me afterwards. They go, "That was a really, really good promo." And I'm like, "Well, he's a really, really good actor. I don't know what you're expecting."
What do they expect? Have they not seen him in Young Rock? Have they not seen him in is it Shamble? Oh, I can't remember the iTunes show he was on, but he's great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I'm going to try to get him to do. I've been sending him other clips. I'm like, oh, this would be good for a promo. Have you seen Apocalypse Now with Marlon Brando?
Of course I have. Great
Oh,
movie.
mate, yeah, I want him to do something like that. He told me Marlon Brando was overrated and our friendship took a bit of a hit. So, so I sent him that.
That's a bit harsh.
It's like, you know what Marlon Brando thought of you? Nothing.
Well,
Yeah,
Brando just would have went, who?
yeah.
That's all he would have said.
No, me and James, we went to we dorked out the other night. We went to see Michael Bublé together. It was quite funny.
Yeah, I saw the stories of that, and I envy both of you because I'm just like, I wish I went there. I just didn't think about it.
It was one of those things where neither, like, you know, you sort of go in, oh yeah, we're just gonna have a good time, but then before you know it, you know every single word to every single song, and you just dropped it, and like me and James are just like back and forth singing to each other all night. And I had my partner's mother was there, my mother-in-law and her sister and all that, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going for it. I'm just going for this. It was fantastic.
You got to enjoy the little things in life, and if you're going to go see Michael Bublé, I better call him Michael Bolton, Michael Bublé, you have to go all out. You got to sit there and enjoy yourself, because like that I have seen Michael live before, and it's just a spectacle that you have to really just sit back and just enjoy every aspect of it.
Well, you're a muso, so you get to appreciate it as well. You know, it's not just like you know, so Ruckus would have been a heavy band.
Oh, well, we're a punk and we tried to be heavy and we just failed miserably because I can't scream. Jeez. And yeah, but let's not talk about my musical career because
no, what I mean is like you get to go to these shows and you appreciate what people are doing with these instruments that you've played before. You're like,
yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know it made that noise.
Yeah, no, like I think what we forget about as music as well, it's not just how we play, it's just the actual spectacle of the show as well. Like I know people like to shit on Kiss so much, but I'm just like, one of the best shows I've ever seen is Kiss. Like just the spectacle of it. I don't care that supposedly Paul is lip syncing. I don't care about that the original members aren't all there. I just sit there and enjoy it.
I'm a huge Kiss mark. We actually got tickets to go see them in October in Sydney, and I'm saying to myself, you know, every time I see them, all right, this is the final tour. That's it. But mate, it never ends. But like the thing was like I always got right from rock and roll shows and the spectacle of it, which is the reason why, you know, like shows like the Thornbury Theatre happened. You know, like because I'm not sure if you're aware that I was one of the guys who started MCW.
Yes, I do.
But it was, so it was like one of those things, you know, like you could go pay $20 to go see a show in the Scout Hall and leave thinking, oh, okay, all right, yeah, whatever. Or you could pay the, you know, like $25 or whatever. You can come see this show and you're going to see a spectacle. So, and I always loved that about a rock and roll show, was the whole spectacle of it. I'm a massive AC/DC mark, right? Like huge. Their music is so simple and to the point, but their show is so impressive. So back in Thornbury Theatre days, we used to get, I'm not sure now because I haven't seen it in 10 years or whatever it's been, but we had a pyrotech used to come to our shows, and he used to like light the stage up when you're coming to the ring. We used to do things like, it used to be a thing like a pro wrestling shows where they used to do live commentary, and it was distracting. It was so distracting. It was so off-putting. Like if somebody did a big move, before the crowd could react, somebody's screaming over the microphone, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And you're yelling over top of it. So we got rid of that. And I've just always been about the fan experience, the fan engagement. And like even now, like PCW is the most impressive looking indie, I suppose you call it indie. It's the most impressive looking facility I've ever seen for pro wrestling. And when you come out there, you've got all the lights and all the spectacle of it. It's just like, you know, when when I come out, I have my pyros that go off. Wake has the lights and he comes through the thing. It creates this atmosphere, and it's like being at a rock concert, you know, like you pay your money, you sit there, and if some dudes just walk out like, yay, you know, some skinny little kid with, you know, not much going on, but then, you know, you go there and you got that, you know, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, something that they have that really can't be taught is presence. And I've always thought that about wrestling. You know, if you want to get over more than, you know, you got to be a good wrestler and all that sort of stuff. You got to tell the story, but you got to have presence. People have got to care. So when you're like watching like a Michael Bublé concert and he's just out there and he's just chatting, it's his presence about him that like draws people in. There's a presence, there's a charm, there's something about him. Paul Stanley's out there. There is a presence, there is a charm. By God, there is a charm with Paul Stanley. When he says, girl, especially when he says girls. But like for me, it's like wrestling, and you know, so that's pretty much why I probably moved from you know, rock and roll over to wrestling, because I felt that same, you know, like showmanship, that same, you know, spectacle. That's what I always wanted to see. So sometimes, you know, you go to do like another show somewhere and you show up in the and you know the laptop's not working and they can't figure out the PA system, and it really takes you out of the moment. It really does. But like when you're walking out there with the music and the pyro and the full, you know, thing, like it's hard not to like, you know, feel the exact same thing that the crowd is feeling. And that's, you know, like, whoa, this is big time. This feels big. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. Just hearing this was just like, now it's bringing up some memories. Like when you said the live commentary, I remember when I first went to a indie show, I was like, oh, okay, they do live commentary. That's weird. And then now, and because I've been it's been what now 2 years now that I've been actively looking at indie wrestling here in Australia, and we don't have the live commentary. I'm so glad it's gone.
Oh man, like dude, I had so many arguments with people about this. Like, because when we started, like, you know, like I had a vision, right? I had a vision, and this was my vision, but everybody else had their vision, and their vision was about, you know, has to be the best wrestling show, you know, it has to be fantastic wrestling and all that sort of stuff. And like for me, it's like, it's great, but like you need the atmosphere, you need that thing. And I always just found that, like, you know, like somebody's screaming over top of the crowd reacting doesn't do much for me. And also like you need to be able to tell a story in wrestling. Whenever you're in the ring, you need to be able to, you know, like, okay, this is my path, this is my path, this is my opponent's path. How do we tell that story, right? How do we get the crowd all the way there so by the end they've seen something that makes sense? You know,
Yeah.
even if we shock them, even if we, you know, go the way that they weren't expecting us to go, they can still see, you know, it makes sense. Whereas if you've got somebody out there in the commentary, he's making their mind up for them. You know, like if you've written a story that's like, you know, all right, cool, we're going to go David versus Goliath, for example, or whatever. And the commentator out there, because let's face it, like producers now wrestling shows, some are really good, some are just there, right? They might tell a different story. You might be out there going David versus Goliath, where they might be going, this guy's a really well-respected wrestler. It gives you you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, like you got to get rid of the commentary out of that. You know, obviously, you know, like when they do the replays on the PCW network and all that, the commentary's there. But we're quite lucky on top of that we've got Travis and Jesse. I'm not sure if you know Travis and Jesse.
I do.
But on PCW, they are probably the best commentary team I've ever heard in Australia. Like they are that good. It is, yeah, they are just fantastic. I can sit back, watch what they do. They're actually those producers that will come to you and get all your ideas, get all the stories and all that sort of stuff. They'll tell you what they see. You tell them what you're trying to get a point across, and then they just sort of make it happen. And then they develop their own little relationship with you when you're wrestling. You know, like Jerry Lawler, you know, whenever, you know, like puppies or whatever, you know, that was his thing. That was like an intimate relationship that he had with the people he was commentating.
Yeah.
Right now, whenever I have Travis commentating, I do a move in the corner, my fabled Tommy combo. So when Travis sees that, he has his own way of commentating that. So all of a sudden it becomes familiar and it becomes like, you know, like part of the show. You know what I mean? Like, so like there are really good commentary teams out there, but I don't believe that they should be doing it live, because the crowd should be absorbing it as it is in its most purest form.
Well, when I look back on it, like very, very recently, I went to a PCW with Bubs, and it was his first real sort of experience before he got a little bit bored and we had to go home. But we're at the event where Ricky Gilmore got his head kicked in, and it was dead silent. And if we had live commentary there, that would have killed that entire moment because Bubs is looking at me and goes, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" I'm like, "I don't know." And like in my mind, like, yeah, I know exactly what's going on. But I'm just like, oh, dude. But then obviously, you know what happened with Cass to come out and do all that stuff. If there was comedy there, the awkward conversation I had driving home with with my 9-year-old is just sitting there, you know, he's like, "Is he going to be?" So I actually had to, you know, show it on my phone. Like I'm typing a photo. Sorry, a message to Ricky Gilmore saying, Bub's just saying he hopes you're doing okay. Send. That's it. And I was like, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. And in my mind, I'm going, this is awesome. Like, he's so young, he doesn't know. But if that commentary is there, it would, because the thing, if they just said, come on, that's not really bad. Like if you see the replay on the PCW network, that would have killed it.
Commentary, what's the commentary going to tell you that you don't already know? You know, you're sitting there, it's supposed to be uncomfortable, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. No, I do admit that they're a great commentary team. And yeah, definitely check out the PCW network. Link is in description because
if you went home at intermission, then you would have missed my match.
Unfortunately, I did, but I have watched that show.
Oh, mate. Oh, you're lucky I don't remember what I did on that show. It's funny, man. You know, like when you listen to like a WWE wrestler and they're getting interviewed about a certain show, they're like, was that then? Was that then? When was it? Like, and you think like, oh, come on, I know this. How could you not know this? But then, you know, people come up to you and go, I remember this match you did in 2012 against blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I don't remember that.
I was like,
you remember that?
I was going to say, well, the first match I ever saw you was against Alberto Bravo.
I bumped into him the other day and we spoke about it.
Yeah, because I think that was the beginning of his losing streak, if I remember correctly, or at least it was like either the first or second one. Hang on, did that kick off his losing streak, or was that the second one?
I wouldn't have a clue. All I remember was I apologized to him because I stiffed the dog out of him in that match. It used to be this thing called, I don't know if you remember or if it was an inside reference, it was called Melbourne Strong Style.
Yes, I do. I do remember this. Yep.
Yeah. Looking back, I just think it was the biggest, like, at the time when you're in it, you're like, oh, I've got to protect my spot and everybody's got to think I'm super tough. So, you know, you work super stiff and you do. But then, like, you know, the people who invented Melbourne Strong Style are the biggest, you know, they're the ones who cover up the most. And I remember getting to that point, like, why am I doing this? Like, why are we beating the crap out of each other? I really hurt, like, all the time. So you start to learn a different style, you know. You start to like, you know what, this is work, this is a bit of fun, and I want to be able to play with my daughter tomorrow. So you know, so like I went up to him and I was like, hey, and we spoke about it, and he reminded me about that match because that was in PCW back in Rowville.
Yeah, it was in Rowville.
Yeah, Rowville, and I was like, oh yeah, hey, really sorry about that. And he was like, nah, it's cool, man, it's cool. I wasn't around too much longer after that because I left to start MCW.
That's right.
But then things turn around real quick, don't they? Things go in full circle, don't they?
Because it was a time where I was very loyal to PCW because literally it was literally like 2 minutes away from my place. That's why I was always going there. Talk to me about the inception of MCW. How did that come about?
Basically, I started. Somebody, his name. He used to wrestle in Melbourne. His name was Dominic Kerr. He used to wrestle as like Super Mario back in the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
He had a show in the Dragonfly. So PWA had the show, and then he had the show in Dragonfly, and then PWA got it, and then he got it back off PWA when they closed. So I started showing up to the Dragonfly to do the wrestling shows there, and I don't know, he seemed to take a shining to me, and I really liked Dom. You know, a lot of people told a lot of stories about him, you know, some horrible stories, and you know, like sometimes, you know, you could tell some of them were true, some of them were just, you know, dickheads just trying to, you know, justice warriors and all that sort of stuff, whatever. But yeah, so Dom really took a shine to me, and I really took a shine to him. And I started booking the shows for him. And my God, did we used to butt heads, you know, like I'd be like, cool, all right, for this show, we need people like Jack O'Lantern and Matt Silver and, you know, all these fresh names. And to be like, we need Frank Carpenter. And I'm like, oh, and Frank Carpenter was like a wrestler from like the 70s and 80s, right? And nothing against Frank or anything like that, because Frank really, you know, like if it wasn't for the Frank Carpenters of the world, we wouldn't have the shows that we have today, right? So I very much believe in paying it forward like that. It was just in 2011 or 2012 or whatever it was, the Frank Carpenters weren't really drawing the house anymore.
Yeah.
Know? So I was just like, you know, Frank's cool and Frank's fun, but like we can't keep going back to the Frank Carpenters. We need to start moving forward, because Frank Carpenter's closer to the end than what he is the start. So we would butt heads and we would friggin' argue. And then we had a guy named Jesse Valentine, who was a PCW for a little while. He came to a meeting between me and Dom to just sort of sit in between us. And I was like, just give me one show. Just give me one show where I can give you what I want you to see. All right, just give me one show. And it was at the Dragonfly. And I booked like all the people that I wanted to book. So I had like, you know, like as I said, you know, Matt Silver, Jack O'Lantern, Cletus, Mad Dog, Crackerjack.
Danny Psycho, I think from memory, was one part of it.
I'm not sure if Danny came back then. I think Danny came
was
back
it
a little bit afterwards.
Was it? I thought he was at the start of that.
I'm not sure if he was back for that or if he came back when we went to Thornbury. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember the time frame. But Danny was there. Yeah, Danny was part of it too. Danny was my big vision at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was my project, so to speak. So we had all these guys, and then Dom, you know, he was missing a leg, right? So he always wanted to be part of the show and all that sort of stuff. But he was sitting on the side and he was watching the show, and I was like, you know, we'll do the show. We'll do this amazing show. This will be like such a good wrestling show. So we went and we did it. And then afterwards, Dom's come up to me and he's going, you know what, Tommy, I thought that was a really good show. And then he started pulling the boys aside and giving them advice, but not giving them dumb advice. He was giving them really good feedback. And then from there, it all started to, and then from there, he calls me over to a meeting somewhere. So I go to another meeting because we're Italians, right? So it's always a meeting. So if you ever do business with me, it's always a meeting. Like we'll have a meeting, we'll have a phone call. I don't text, I'll call you and we'll actually talk about it. Right? Which I think spun Andy Rhodes out the other day because I had to talk to him about something rather than message him. I've actually called him and he's like, oh, okay. That's how I do business, brother. Yeah, so I went to a meeting there and he goes and he pitched the idea of Thornbury Theatre, and I was like, okay, all right, okay, cool. So we went there to Thornbury Theatre, and because Dom was missing a leg, right, I've walked in and I've seen this amazing room, and I'm like, holy shit, how the hell do we fill this room? Like, how do we fill this room? And he goes like, no, Tommy, we're going downstairs. And I went downstairs and it's this horrible looking room with like, you know, like glass all along. So it's like mirror all along one side of the hall. So, you know, like, so you put the ring up, all you can see is yourself reflecting back or whatever. So it's like, damn it. So we had to do that. And then eventually I started to talk Dom into the idea of upstairs, but because we couldn't get him upstairs, Dom didn't really like the idea of upstairs, which turns out the week before the show, the week before the ballroom brawl, the first ballroom brawl, he died. Whoa. I know, right? I know, yeah. So Dominic passed away that first week. So he made me champion of the show. So I was the champion of the show, and then everybody's like, "Oh, Tommy just booked himself to be champion." I'm like, "Well, you know, wasn't entirely my idea." But you know, sometimes you gotta wear that crown of thorns. So we went up. I had an injured shoulder. I do remember that. I'd really hurt my shoulder working a match against Daniel Swagger at for Matt and Joe, Fox FM. So we did that show. I ended up really stuffing up my shoulder, and I ended up needing surgery on it. So we went to Thornbury Theatre, and it was the very first MCW show. I think it was the first MCW show because we had to change from ACW to MCW because Dom's family wanted to keep the rights to ACW. and they wanted us to pay for it, and so they wanted us to pay for the rights, and then they wanted us to with the belt that we had, they wanted us to, they wanted to drop the belt off and then bring it back at the end of every show. And which, for the first time I was like, okay, cool, yeah, all right, we can do that. But then we had a show where they said, oh, we can't make it, and then one of the guys goes, well, just put a picture of the belt up on the screen and say this is what they're fighting for. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. So
What?
So rather than go through all of that, and we'll, and I had agreed, we were going to pay some money to, Dom's family for the show and all that sort of stuff, but it was just getting a little bit ridiculous. We were doing quite a lot and getting nothing in return. So rather than go through that and sort of like sour my relationship, like with Dom's memory, because Dom gave me a lot, we just changed the name. So we rebranded, we became MCW. And in the very first show, it was called Ballroom Brawl, not because that was my idea or anybody's idea. I'd gotten a few posters made by Shane Hero, right? And Shane was like just knocking them out for me, like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And I was giving him like a day or two to turn them around, and they were posters, right? But that's not because of Shane. That was because I was just like, hey mate, can you do this for me right now? I need this done right now. So Shane would do it.
Yeah.
And then I'd be getting these posters like, oh, I wouldn't buy a ticket to that. But it was very, cut and paste, and I was like, oh.
I remember those posters, and I'm going to say, Shane, for hearing this story, you did a really good job, mate, on short notice.
There was a couple of nice posters, but then there was some really ones. So I went to, I can't remember his name. I think he was friends with Rowan or Mikey or somebody like that. And I've gone to him, hey mate, I need a poster for this show. Can you please do this poster? And he's come back to me and goes like, yeah, all right, cool. So he gives me this poster, and it was like a fatal four-way between me, Danny Psycho, Mike Peterson, and Enforcer. And the poster came back and said Ballroom Brawl. And I was just like, you know what? I like that. I really like that, because we're in the ballroom. So so it was Ballroom Brawl. So yeah, my whole grand scheme was, it was that show, that panaz, that wow, I want you to see this show and just think like, holy shit. And Danny Psycho was that guy for me, because he had, the hair, he had the look, the tattoos and all that sort of stuff. He could really wrestle. He could, he could do anything. And anytime you mention Danny Psycho to anybody, the girls would just go, oh, Danny Psycho. Oh, they go a little bit nuts. Yeah, they go a little bit nuts over Danny Psycho. So he was my big vision to launch MCW. So, and that was 10 plus years ago. I can't remember now, but it was a long time ago. So that was how sort of MCW got going. And then from there, it just sort of like we had a lot of sponsors, we made a lot of money, which isn't, most people don't talk about that in wrestling, but we did. We had some sponsors, we made some money, we had a lot of good business things going. But then like when we stopped focusing on the business, it just sort of, it wasn't fun for me anymore, because we weren't talking about business, we were talking about like people's egos and people's creativity. And it was just like, you know what, I want to get back to making that spectacle. I want to get back to, if I'm not going to be, Anthony the businessman, then I want to go back to being Tommy the wrestler. And this place isn't that for me. So I left.
Fair enough. Is that why we didn't see you for a few years in the wrestling world? Because you were just focusing on the business? Because I remember there was a brief time where I saw you and then MIA.
It might have been that period, because I did hurt my shoulder. So after I dropped that belt to Danny Psycho, I disappeared for a year. I didn't come back for until the next year's Ballroom Brawl, because I was out injured. And then from there, like when I left, all I was doing was Lucha Fantastica and the odd GPW show. And Lucha Fantastica is another one there, like where it's about the spectacle and,
Lovely. I did a vlogcast. I think it was the first one out of lockdown. Had the funnest time of my life doing that, and you were on that show too. And I loved your name there. Was it Tommy? Was it Sapphire or something like that? I can't remember what it
Ringo
was.
Starr.
Ringo,
Ringo
no,
Starr.
is it Ringo Starr? Because
Ringo Starr.
okay. I'm gonna have to go back and have a look at the.
I wrote that show.
Okay.
I wrote those shows for 10 years. So yeah, I was writing those shows for 10 years, man, and it was just like the ride of a life. Like we toured Singapore, all of Australia, China, like, and this is just like, as you said, you come to the show as a wrestling fan, you're like, what the is this? But my thing with that show was like, I didn't want to sell it to a wrestling crowd because I know, like, how fickle wrestling crowds are, and I don't want anybody out there going like, oh, I'm going to judge your work or anything like that.
Yeah.
I want them out there, and I want them drunk, and I want them having fun, and I want them, up against the ring. I want this wild, manic energy to this show. This show's got to be different from every other wrestling show, and that's like, what a good producer does. You got to find a way to differentiate. You got to find a way to put yourself forward. You got to find a way to make these shows pop. And with Lucha Fantastica, I've done, MCW and all that sort of stuff, but I was just like, no. This needs to be different. This needs to be less about the wrestling, more about the character, and more about it needs to have a party vibe to it. Like if you go to this show, you need to feel like you had a party vibe. Because I remember getting backstage once and the crowd's going nuts, right? They're going absolutely bananas. And I said to somebody, I've gone, oh man, that was a really fun match. And they've gone to me, no, it was all right. And I was like, nah, man, you're a wrestling fan. You're a wrestling person. That's just like, you know what I mean? Like it's all right, mate. There are 400 people out there who all paid to be here. Go back to your, get back in your bubble, like where there's like, whatever, get back in your wrestling bubble. This isn't a wrestling show. I always described it as a cabaret show. Like it's a cabaret wrestling show. So, that's like, because where else are you going to get a character like Daniel Andrews or, Kung Fu Jesus?
The Taco.
Yeah, the Taco. Yeah. Or the Gimp. Like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah. That was my, El Twinko, as we call him. Me and El Twinko, we had a match. We've done it twice. We did the last scene of Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh, not the last scene. The scene of Ghost where they do with the clay making.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We did that one show where we were crashed into the corner, and the referee crashed down in front of me, and I crashed down behind the referee. And then El Twinko started to play the music, and he put my hands on top of the referee's head, and we started molding him like clay to that music. That was Sam was the referee that night. So then we got up and we did the dance, and then the other day we were having a match, and he was trying to like get frisky with me, but I wasn't having it. Gringo Star wasn't having it. And then eventually the referee put him in the corner, and I got I'm like, nobody puts him in the corner, and we did the dance from Dirty Dancing together. You can't do these on a normal wrestling show.
No, you can't.
It's funny though, because you have like wrestling fans in the crowd, and they're like, I take off the mask every now and then, and they're always like, Tommy Hellfire. And then I'll start dancing to like Dirty Dancing, and they're like, oh, what the hell is this? But another thing on those Lucha shows is the Wicked Witch of the West. I got to team with James Sly. Oh, no, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Cut that out. James Bolton. I got to team with James Bolton, and he was proposing to somebody, and he needed to propose with a prop. So we used a blue ring that he had to pull out of my pants.
Oh my God.
He had to pull that out of my pants to.
See, I would believe that would be James Sly. I like James Bolton, but that sounds like something out of the Sly Guy's playbook there for me.
Yeah, no, he stole all of his shit, Ringo Starr.
The one thing I do love about those shows, particularly the one that I went to, was the interaction with the kids. When we had
to go to the kids show.
Yeah, I went to the kids show.
Oh my God, man! I'm talking about the adult show.
No, I've been to the adult show too, but I went to the kids show.
We need to. we need to. Everything I'm talking about is happening on the adult show. The kids show is Wrestling 101.
No, but the both shows I have so much fun in. But it was the kids show that tugged on the heartstrings on this one, because you had the the pinata, and I can't remember who was doing it, but there was somebody who's just dancing in the background with the referee. I think it was El Taco from memory. And I as a wrestling fan, you just like, oh, okay. But as a family man and as somebody who just loves wrestling in general, I had so much fun in that. But the adult shows are where it's at too, I have to admit.
That's good, man. That's what it is. You know, like people. I think wrestling fans have kind of poisoned wrestling a little bit. So it's good to have the. It's good to be able to like go to a wrestling show, let your hair down, and not worry about like, like wrestling, like stuff. Like you just go,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm having a good time. This is a really fun show. People are enjoying themselves. Like why? Don't poison that. Don't poison that at all. I remember years ago, Victor, the guy who owns, because I was the producer there for years and years, but Victor owns it, and he said to me, in his voice, he goes, "Oh, Tommy, I think we need to get a publicist." Oh no, I was encouraging him to get a publicist. So we went and got a publicist, and he put an advertisement out, and all these wrestling people came back to him about it. And I told him he was absolutely crazy if he was going to hire a wrestling person, because I always felt like, you hire wrestling people, there's your ceiling. It's wrestling. If you hire somebody who sees the show as more than that, well, then your ceiling just becomes, you don't know where your ceiling's going to end.
100% agree with that.
Of course, we hired somebody who, who wasn't a wrestling person. And, we went to Singapore, we toured China. The show now goes all around Australia. So, and it's because, it's not a wrestling. We don't see it as a wrestling event. Nobody shows up to these shows wearing wrestling t-shirts or anything like that. They dress up, they look nice. It actually looks like, you go there and it's like just such a good eclectic mix of people.
Well, how I describe it to people who I try to get to go to those shows is it's not necessarily a wrestling show. It's more of a fiesta. Because like the kids show that I went to in Frankston, it was the Frankston one. I like literally when I got there, there was I'm not sure not sure what the style of dancing was, but it was a Mexican style of dancing. So was it salsa that they were doing, or was it something else?
Salsa.
Yeah,
I tried to do it one night with Victor. We were in China, and we had these Chinese people, obviously in China, looking after us. So they kept taking us to all these Mexican themed bars and Mexican themed things. We went there like to like a salsa sort of bar one night, and Victor started dancing, and I was like, I'm gonna give this a go. So I started I was a bit drunk, but I'm like trying to do the thing like that, and I turned around,
do the cha-cha and
trying to do this, and then like I turn around and all the people who were hosting us, not general people there, but like the people who were hosting us, were just pointing and giving me so much shit. And they're saying in Chinese, and I'm like, what? And they go, you look stupid. So I haven't done it ever since. I was just like, you know what? That's good feedback. I needed to know.
But that's what you got to do, and I don't care what other people say. It doesn't matter if you're in wrestling or in theater or anything. Just have some fun. Like, don't be so serious, because like I think some of the best moments in my career as a whole, and not just talk about what if it's cool, not just talk about my acting career, not just talk about my music career, just as my career as a whole. The stupidest shit I'm just not giving a and just enjoying myself and doing it are the best moments.
Dude, I had a big championship match with Wake a couple of weeks ago. I don't know, we've done two anyway. Yeah, the first one there, like, because Tommy Hellfire character, especially on a PCW show, was like a really staunch sort of like, I don't know, stoic, take no shit sort of person, but like he bit me on the I solved that like crazy. You know what I mean? It was just like, you have to have that ability to, you got to like laugh at yourself. You can't without lifting the veil, you know what I mean? Like, and I think a lot of the times with wrestlers, especially today, is they don't show that vulnerability. Like they always have to look cool and they always have to look tough. Whereas like, if you drop your guard for a moment and just like, like show that little bit of vulnerability, like it makes you a three-dimensional person. It makes you interesting. Whereas opposed to that person that doesn't like to sell, always has to, look cool. Even when they're losing, they have to look, the strongest person in the room. It just sort of, I don't know, like as a performer, I see it as like insecurity. So, you know, like you've got to, yeah, you've got to be able to laugh at yourself. You can't take yourself too seriously, because after all, you know, really, if you look at it, like, you know, I love wrestling. I frigging love wrestling. But like, whenever anybody tries to give me any shit about wrestling, the first thing they say is, "Oh, it's that fake fighting in your underwear." So you've got to like, you know, you've got to take it with a grain of salt. You know, you can't take yourself too seriously, and that's what I like about those lucha shows, and especially with that Gringo Star character that I made. You know, like I can do anything with that character because there's no limits. You know.
All right, we're gonna have to get on to Married at First Sight, and JP Bamford. I blame you for me not having much sleep today, because I got stuck binge watching that.
That's right, JP.
Oh man! Now, firstly, before I get into the whole story of it, what motivated you to actually be on that show?
I was single, and I was at work, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm like, maybe I should apply for this. Maybe I should. And I half filled in a form. I didn't fill the whole thing in. I just filled in one page, and then there was like 14 other pages, and I was like, oh, no. I'm not sitting through all this.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting through all this. So I only did one page, and then they sent me an email saying, "Oh, the producers really want to meet you," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And then said, "Oh, you know, the producers really," and then I got a few more emails, and I was just like, "Yeah, you know, that's just what they say to everybody, you know, that type of thing." And then they a producer actually called me, and he goes like, "Oh, hey Anthony, my name's James. I worked with a friend of yours, Matt Zukowski, on Love Island, and I really want to talk to you about this show. So give me a call back." And I'm like, okay. So then I called Matt, who wrestled as Charlie Matthews. I called him, and he goes like, "Oh, did you tell him you knew me?" And I was like, "No, you dipstick. He told me he knew you." So he thought I was like trying to use him to get over, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
Trust me, I never have. I never will. You can cut that up and put that. Yeah. So he. So then they wanted to get in touch with me. So then I just started talking with him, and it all happened really quick. Like before I knew it, it was like a month. It was like less than a month. It was like a week or two of chatting, and then next thing I know, I had a contract, and they flew me out the day after my birthday, and we filmed in lockdown. So I spent like three weeks living in North Sydney by myself in a really nice apartment on the 20th floor of some high rise, just waiting to start filming. And had I have known what was coming, I would have rather just stayed there.
All right. Well, I remember when it was announced, and I saw it. I was like, "What the is Tommy doing on a reality TV show?" I was like, "Is he just using this to get some publicity for his hosting?" Like, yeah, go on, go on the show and do it. The one thing I did from the episodes I have watched so far, just like the one missed opportunity to have not having any merch on. I'm like, come on, that would have been perfect,
dude. I had my wrestling gear there ready to go.
Yeah.
I said to them, "Do you want me to bring my wrestling gear?" And they're like, "Yes, bring your wrestling gear." So I had my wrestling gear, but it was just like, you saw what I was up against. There was no way we were ever going to get to that. It was no way. But it was like they kept wanting me to buy into the drama and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know. I'm a bit old, I suppose. I'm a bit older than them, and it just felt very fishbowl drama for me. Like Tina, like, was a storm in a teacup? Is that the same? Like,
I don't know. No,
it was just like, yeah, like when there's just so much happening that everybody's like so bought into it, and everybody's, I was just like, I'm not bought into this. I'm really not. Like, this is, it's a fun experience and all that sort of stuff, but I just couldn't buy into it the way that everybody else was buying into it. And, I thought, well, I'll give it a go. So, I stayed a couple of weeks, but then after that, I was just like, you know what? I don't care for this. I want to go home. So I went home. It was because it was all, like you'd be sitting there, and then, like one thing, everything's cool. And then the next thing, like the producer's sitting there on your shoulder going, "Oh, what did you think about this?" And you're supposed to like say, "Oh, I thought that was bullshit." I hate this person and blah blah blah. And I was just like, I don't care. I don't care for that. I don't want to get involved in anybody's drama. I don't want to get involved in anybody else's story. There's one time I did, and it was like one dude who's been really, really, really sexist. So, you know, like I said it to him, like, hey, dude, you need to chill the out because you're being sexist. And I did that out of respect for that guy because we got along. But then like after he left, and I was just like, cool. And then I just saw everybody else just like divulging into this just like never ending melting pot of drama. I was just like, I don't care for this. I really don't. I got a family at home. And I don't know if you watched the campfire scene.
Yes. Yeah.
You would have seen me in front of the thing after the campfire, just going like, you know what? I'm 800 k's away from home. I miss my daughter. This is a really hard experience for me. That was basically where I was. I was just like, what the?
I'm gonna admit something here on this show, and it's not that often you hear me say this or even see me do it. I actually shed a tear on that bit because I'm just like, if you're going through that and your child is that far away, man, like that's heartbreaking for me, dude. I'm not a biological father, but I mean I do help raise bubs, and if I had and unfortunately it has happened where I wasn't able to see him, every day killed me. I'm just sitting there going, he's dealing with all this abuse from not just this and this and this, but you know he's got to also feel the fact that he's not with his daughter. Like, feel it for him, and I think that's why I was getting so angry because I'm just like, he's piling on, and I'm just like, let him
let him live, damn it.
No.
But here's the thing on that, and here's why I can like sort of look back and let it go, like because I don't, you know, I didn't want to hang on to it or anything like that. But I was going through that, and she was going through that as well. Celine was going through that as well because Celine had a child, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, like Celine's got usually like she comes from a big family, so Celine's got a family all around her all the time, and now all of a sudden she doesn't have a family around her. She doesn't have a kid with her. She doesn't have any support things. So she, you know. So she had her back up against the wall too. So that's why I can look back and think, you know, like I don't, you know, like was it mean? Yeah, I thought it was mean. Like, but at the same time, you know, I'm sitting there going, I'm just going to hold it together because blah blah blah. You saw like the next day, I didn't hold it together.
Yeah,
I let her have it. It was probably one of the best rants I've ever had in my life. It's like even when I watched it back, my brother sent me a message, and my brother never puts me over for anything. This is my older brother, and he was like, man, I was really proud of you the way you said what you said. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man.
Well, one of the things that
ACDC muscle t-shirt too.
Yeah. One of the things that I was very proud of you, look at, you know, just watching you doing this, just how mature you were as opposed to everyone else on that show. Because everyone was they're like, oh, at the start, they're all being all nice and dibbly, and then when the hit the fan, they're like, like,
yeah.
Why can't he be like Tommy? He's like being like he's trying to be calm, and then when he had to lose it, he'll lose it, but doesn't do it in that way. Like seriously.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I could have. Yeah, that first dinner party. I don't know if you remember that, but like I walked in and I just walked into an absolute firing squad, and I was like, and everybody was trying to get me to dish dirt, and you know, like when you're sitting there, and like you're just so overwhelmed, you can't find the words for anything like that. So I was just like, if I open my mouth now about anything, it's just going to go wrong. And it's not, as I said, I wasn't going to buy in. I wasn't going to buy into the drama or the group or the group therapy because, you know, I was already guilty as charged. So I'm like, I can be guilty. That's cool. I will be the guilty dude. I don't care. I'm not buying into this. So that was basically where I was. So, yeah. So I wasn't going to get involved. And then, as I said, like after a few weeks, I'm like, oh God, I miss my family. I want to go home.
How long exactly was the filming for you there? Was it like couple, like, because you're saying a couple of weeks, was it like what, a month or 2 months?
Yeah, in TV land,
yeah.
No, it was like three months I was away.
Yeah, hell, man, I couldn't do that, be away from my family for that long.
Yeah, no, it was hard. But I saw it as like, you know, I'm going, you know, like Bilbo Baggins, I'm going on an adventure type of thing. So for me, like, you know, I've done like a lot of movies. those Daniel Armstrong, B grade, I'm sorry, C or D grade slasher flicks.
It doesn't matter. Daniel's movies are entertaining. I love them, and I do love it when I see you in there. I think that's fantastic. The only thing I have a problem with is I've known Daniel for that long. I've never been cast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, never been
that's
asked.
all right.
I put him over.
I've known Daniel for even longer, and he stopped casting me. So
I love you, Dan. I'm just joking around, man. I'm just joking around.
Dan's great. Dan's great. Dan's one of those people, like, I don't speak to for ages, but like whenever we get on the phone, we'll eventually after an hour or so, one of us will have to go, all right, dude, I got to go. Because we will just start chopping it up about anything and everything. And Dan's awesome. We've always had that really good relationship. But but when Dan put me in those movies, it was the same thing. It's like, I don't know what this is going to lead to, but whatever. I'm just going to go and have some fun. And I did. So I thought, going on Married at First Sight, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Well,
But yeah, there was a thing that was sort of edited out one night. Me and Celine had it out at a dinner party where I snapped in the dinner party. I was like, and then like that didn't make it to air. She was like telling everybody, "Oh, he's an actor. Everybody, look, he's acting." And I was just like, mate. I remember snapping back at her like, "Oh, if this is the best acting role I could get, if this is the best acting role I could get, then what the hell? What did I do wrong? I didn't know James Bolton back then. If I had known James Bolton back then, he could have given me some. He could have taught me how to cry on cue or something like that."
The one thing I've taken from watching from the series is like how much of a gentleman you are, and I sometimes people are so blind to it, and
being a gentleman doesn't drive ratings or anything like that. If you go in there and you're ultra polite, people go, "Oh, he's really nice." We want to talk to the person who wasn't nice.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's always the villains or the women that were perceived as villains. They're the ones that always get the most sort of press and the most thing. And that's the game, man. You're going to understand that. Like I used to get the same with wrestling. Like, oh, why aren't I getting these? Why do they want to talk to them and not me? And blah blah blah. And it's just basically, it's like you got to play that game. It's like constant. Like game of what is it? Chasey or something, I don't know, whatever. I don't give a But like basically, yeah, they're the ones who get all the press. They're the ones who get all the accolades and all that sort of stuff afterwards. And that's that's fair enough. They bought in and they rode that wave. I wasn't, like if you know me backstage at a wrestling show, like locker room Tommy is so much different to real life Anthony. You know what I mean? Like when you're in the boys club, it's a competitive environment. I'm going to let everybody know that like, if you're working on the show with me, you better step up your game because, I'm always on the edge, like, oh, is this person getting over? You know what I mean? But,
I got you.
but that's me. That's me in real life. That's me. That's Anthony, the family man. That's Anthony. All that sort of stuff. My partner will tell you it's completely different. She'll say no, he's an all the time, but but that's just because we just had a baby, and I think she hates me at the moment. She's so beautiful.
Final question about Math. Are you still in contact with Celine at all?
Like we follow each other on Instagram, but it's one of those things, like we were two completely polar opposite people. Like we couldn't have been any more opposite to each other. So we don't really talk or anything like that, but like we do reach out every now and then. Like she reached out when I had my son. I reached out on her boy's birthday. It's so there's no animosity there or anything like that. No hard feelings. It was what it was. But we just reach out to each other, and like as I said, I wasn't going to get pulled into any more dramas or anything like that, and I didn't want to look back and think. And I see so many people after that show, they they still hate on each other all these years later. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, we lost our at each other every now and then. Like, you yelled at me, I yelled back. Stuff like that. But it was just like, I don't want to hang on to it. I don't want my memory looking back on maps to be anything other than like, hey, I got to do that.
Yeah.
Like, thousands of people, you know, applied to do this every year, but they came to me, they picked me, and I got to go on that journey. And now, you know, I've got like this awesome network, you know, that I wouldn't have had before. You know, I got to be a Polish man ambassador, which was like one of my biggest, you know, I consider that like one of my biggest achievements, was to be a Polish man ambassador. And, you know, knock on wood, I'll do it again this year.
Awesome.
You know, I got to meet some amazing people. I got to go on this incredible journey, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if they didn't pair me with Celine, and Celine wouldn't have been able to do that if they didn't pair her with me. We probably would have fallen through the cracks. So I'm grateful that they picked me. I'm grateful that I got to do the experience, and I don't want to look back like every other person who goes like, oh, I got a bad edit, I got this, I got that. You know, like I know as they say behind the scenes, I got the hero edit, but like I never wanted to like sit there and like, you know, hold that above anybody, or, you know what I mean? It was what it was. And I know Celine was going through a lot at the same time. You know, she had her family away from her. I had my family away from me. I think like our last week there, she got to actually spend the weekend with her kid and all that sort of stuff. So that was really nice, but I didn't get that. And by the end of it, I was really struggling. So I had to go.
Yeah.
And I don't, yeah, as I said, man, I don't ever want to look back and think of my time there as like, oh, I can't believe, you know, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Because I'll tell you what, life for me after the show worked out pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
Pretty bloody good. I don't know if you've seen, but I've got a beautiful partner. I've got I've got my daughter in my life all the time. And now I've got a beautiful son. So, you know, the dog is an absolute bastard, but we've got everything else in place. We've got, you know, I've got my beautiful kids. I've got my beautiful partner. We live in this beautiful house, and I've got nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
I don't feel very indie wrestling anymore, living in a really nice house. I kind of feel like I should be living in a shoebox again, but all that led me in that journey.
And you bought James Bolton a very, very expensive bottle of Jack Daniels, and you're living every father's dream of making TikToks of dad jokes on TikTok. Awesome.
James earned that bottle. As I said, the dog is a bastard, and he came and spent the weekend with it. He came and spent the weekend with Raphael, the border collie.
Oh man.
I know, man. Every time he walks out to wrestle now and I see his really wet hair, I'm like, oh, shit, that better not be that Jack Daniels. It's actually funny the other day when we went to Michael Bublé before we went out, before we went to the concert, I took him to this restaurant that me and my partner always go to. It's like a Thai Vietnamese fusion restaurant. We're sitting there going like, we're having dinner, and I'm like, oh, this is really cute. This is really cute. You know, we're just the two of us just having dinner before a Michael Bublé concert. If they could see us, they wouldn't believe it.
I reckon you two should do a series on YouTube of you just having like mandates and going to a concert. I think that'd be great. So I enjoyed those Instagram stories of you two just enjoying each other's company. It was fantastic.
We should do a Tommy and James goes to the zoo. Tommy and James goes to Disney on Ice. Yeah, we should.
10% goes to me on whatever equity you make on that one. Yeah, it's my idea.
Yeah. We'll make a series of it. I'll pitch him the idea.
All right, Tommy, we've come to the staple question here. What if it's cool? What is something that you find cool that nobody else does? I think I've stumped another one.
No, you haven't stumped me. I just don't think I can answer that.
You can't leave me on that one. Come on.
Use your imagination, mate.
That's bad.
Some things that I like that not other people like. Well, it depends where you are, mate. Like when I was on Maps, it was wrestling.
Yeah.
When I'm at home when I'm at home with my daughter, it's AC/DC.
She doesn't like AC/DC at all.
She hates AC/DC, but I took her to see Kiss.
Yeah.
And we all dressed up with the Kiss makeup and all that sort of stuff. It was actually funny. We were there, me, my brother, my partner Kate, and my daughter Gabby. We all put on the makeup. So Kate, Gabby, and I, we drove in there with the makeup on, and then we met my brother in there, and we went into the bathroom, and so my brother could start doing his makeup. And actually, Victor from Lucha Fantastica walked in the room, walked into the dunny. He was on a date.
Yeah.
He's walked in. He's like, Tommy, what are you doing? Oh my God, your face looks amazing. And I'm like, oh, Victor, do you want makeup? And he goes like, yeah, I want makeup. So Victor was on a date. 1 minute she's out there waiting for him to go to the toilet, and he comes back out completely decked out with a Kiss makeup on. Oh man, it was just funny. If you meet Victor, he's this fiery little Mexican guy, and I absolutely love him to death. So it's just the funniest shit.
That's cool. That's a cool story, man. Like,
Yeah.
But hang on. So, hey, I'm guessing you were Paul Stanley. Who was it?
No.
Oh, you weren't? What?
I'm a Paul Stanley mark, right? I am Mr. Paul Stanley. I freaking love Paul Stanley, right? But my younger brother Corey is also a massive Paul Stanley mark.
Ooh.
And because like the show was supposed to be around his birthday, it was like a birthday present for him to go to this show. And then the show got cancelled and it got moved to my birthday.
Oh, no.
So I was like, fine, you can be Paul Stanley. He goes like, well, we'll all go as Paul Stanley. And I'm like, there's 4 of us, man. Like, we can't.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah. So I went as Gene Simmons.
Oh, that's all right. That's a
funny story. You remember the band? Well, of course, you remember the band Pantera, right?
Mate, come on.
Now you remember Dimebag Darrell had the Ace Frehley tattoo on his chest.
Yes.
Yeah. So I went to a Pantera concert in 2001 at the ripe old age of, I think it was like 17 or 18. I can't remember. And I was 17 because I got into the bar because I never used to really check IDs, and I was like covered in tattoos. So I went in. So I went to this Pantera concert with the full Ace Frehley makeup, and I was determined to get Dimebag Darrell's attention. And just before they played Cowboys from Hell, he's like seeing me in the crowd and he's pointing me at the crowd like, oh, and he's like pulling his shirt aside and he's like cheersing me and all that sort of stuff. It was freaking amazing, mate.
Wow.
I don't know what the equivalent in today's music scene would be, but like if you were 17 years old in 2001 and Dimebag Darrell's pointing you out in the crowd, forget about it. It's amazing.
Fucking hell, that is awesome.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh my God.
There's so many people coming up to me that night going like, oh, you're at the wrong concert, man. You're like, oh, you don't get it, bro. Don't talk to me. You don't get it. Yeah, leave me alone. And somebody else is coming up and going, oh shit, I hope he notices. And I'm like, yeah.
No, for me at the time, if I saw you, I was just like, oh, he's a Kiss fan. Awesome. Give me a bump. That's it. That's all. I wouldn't put 2 and 2 together. But if anyone gave you shit, I was like, go f yourself, dude. Like, do you not?
I was 17, and then I went into what was it? There was like, there used to be on Spencer Street. It's not there anymore, but there was this like little servo where everybody would line up after the show and they'd buy like Gatorade and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was this poor little woman working there, and she was like so flustered because there was like 50 million bloody metalheads just there, and I've walked in, and I'm just like, I saw somebody else walk in and grab a Gatorade and walk out, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. So I like walked in, grabbed the Gatorade, and I started walking out. As I started walking out, she started pointing and yelling at me, like, you. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know what to do. And I panicked and I started running up the street. And then everybody was laughing, like, what you going to do? Call the police and say Ace Frehley just stole a bloody Gatorade? Not that we condone stealing here or whatever it's called. We don't condone that. I was 17. I went running off like around the corner. And I'm like washing my face off, like, oh my God. Because I got caught and I was too embarrassed to go back and pay, so I just did a bolt.
Oh God, to be young again to do that kind of shit. Jesus Christ.
Now I'm turning 40 this year, and I just had a child. They're going to probably think I'm the dorkiest dork of all.
Nah, mate. Like, I think you've lived a really cool life, man, and just like it makes me feel good because like I'll be 37 this year, and I feel like I'm a little bit nervous. But just hearing your story here, I'm just like, no, I think I'm living my best life too. Not that I'm doing wrestling or anything, but I'm doing what I love. You're doing what you love, and that's great. Yeah.
Do what makes you feel good.
Exactly.
That's what my saying is. Always. Don't worry about the naysayers or anything like that, because cop about God so much stuff in my life, but I don't care because like I've got all these memories. It's all those things I used to say, like people in school that used to tease me in the in the early '90s about liking wrestling. The same people I remember being at a PCW Grand Slam show. They had bought tickets for the front row. And I was wrestling, so it was just like all I'm sitting there is just like, and they're like in the crowd like pointing at me like, oh, and you're like, you guys just giving me so much school, but whatever, whatever. I'm out here living my best life.
I had the best one, and I know it's not the show about me. I just want to quickly get this and put this on the air. I had a guy who said to me, that back when this was a 4-piece, that no one's ever going to listen to you guys or anything like that. No one's ever going to listen to your show. No one's going to get, 2 years later, follows the show on Instagram, and it came up. I still have the screenshot, and I just like made it, man. I got there at the end, like, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I got no ill will to the guy, but I'm just like, yeah.
What's his name? What's his name? Name names.
No, I'm not gonna name names. I think you know him too. That's the problem.
Probably, yeah. You can tell me when you're not, so I'll go and follow him if I don't already. It's the funniest thing, man. Is it always makes me laugh. I'm in wrestling. I'm one of those people. If you're a wrestler and you follow me, I'll follow you back because I get the journey. You know what I mean? Like show some love. It's always funny, like when some wrestler you've never heard of follows you, so you follow them back, and then like when you check again later, they've unfollowed you, and you're like, "This was your idea, buddy. What are you doing?"
I can't understand why people are like that, but yes, it's right.
Yeah. My missus calls me petty for checking, and I'm like, I'm not petty. I'm just, I suppose, I suppose I am. Who else would check that shit at me? I used to have an app that would tell me.
I think that app was fun for a brief time, but then when I used to see so many people like unfollow me, it hurt. So that's why I got rid of it. And thank God it doesn't exist anymore.
Dude, I had 102,000 followers on my Instagram, and now I'm down to like 97 or something like that. You're like, well, at least I've still got my bots. my bots are
the bots are safe.
They're just keeping my numbers up. they don't do anything for my interactions, but at least they make me look cool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your socials, where can we find you on all your socials?
So you can find me for wrestling. It's at Tommy Hellfire. And then for for my actual personal one, it's at Anthony Cincotta _. That one there's got the blue tick. I got the blue tick before people started paying for it, which is a bastard, right? Because I was like so proud I got this blue tick, and then like a couple of months later, people could just buy blue ticks. And I was like,
but you get it for free though. Everyone else has to pay $15.99 for that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
No. Cop that. There should be like a blue tick and a purple tick or something. If you
there's a gold tick now. So I think if you reach a certain milestone, instead of being blue, it becomes gold.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard that.
If The Rock doesn't have one, then who does?
I don't know. I remember seeing something. Or maybe I'm thinking of Twitter. I don't know. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. If you buy enough subscriptions, you'll get a gold sticker. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
No, it's just so funny. You just see all these people who are just like, I don't know, like, this industry, like music and wrestling and movies and all that. There's always like, like a bunch of people that, just sort of float around. No real, they're not hurting anybody, but they're just sort of floating around. And now all of a sudden, you see that in every like walk of life. And now all of a sudden they've all got blue ticks. And it cracks me up. It cracks me up. I love it. Live the dream.
I'm gonna earn the blue tick the right way, be organically and stuff. I'm not gonna pay the $15.99 for that because let's be honest, we don't have much of a budget here on What If It's Cool. But
that's okay. You paid me more. You paid me more than what you paid James Bolton to be on this show.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
You bought me a tank of fuel.
Yeah.
I'm going to pitch this idea to him, like call it the Tommy and James do things or something. I don't know. We'll put it together. Did you ever watch his Messiah Jesus videos?
You clearly don't watch the show because I did a reaction video to that.
Oh, did you? Oh, my God, man. When he told me about that, I was like, cool. Then he showed me and I was like, what the how the hell did you get away with that? Like, he told me the priest just wasn't there, just didn't know what was going on. And I was like, fair enough, mate. Like, as long as you made a donation. He's like, yeah, sure, I did.
Oh my God.
I was just like, I don't know how you got away with that. I would have been like, I'm not a religious man at all, but I would have been scared I was going to burn up.
Yeah, look, it was fantastic, and like I wouldn't call myself religious. I'm a spiritual person, but like if I was to do something like that in a church,
probably burn up. Man, we did a boxing gym opening sort of thing, so we were there, and he was showing me this video, and I'm like, at Chapel Street Boxing. I'm like, where did you film this? And he's like, that church just there, and I'm like, that church just there. So I was standing out front of the church. He filmed it. I'm like, buddy, we got to get you out of here before the priest finds you. got to get you as far away from possible.
Oh,
he comes out with a baseball bat, like, whoa, you owe me money.
Well, that's why I had to put a disclaimer on the Jab episode, because I was afraid that somebody's going to take it seriously and thinking actually thinks he's Messiah. I'm just like, it's a character, guys. It's a character, you know?
Yeah,
like, it's not real.
I should send you a link. We did a Lucha Fantastica a couple of years ago, a match between Kung Fu Jesus and Judas.
Oh, you've got to show me that. I've got to do that.
We did a big video clip of, what's that movie, Footloose?
Yeah.
Where he does the rage dance thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that with Jesus, rage dancing on Judas before their match.
Oh, I think I've seen this. I think it was.
Yeah.
Was that on the flashback that was on the Facebook page for Lucha Fantastica?
Probably, yeah.
I remember.
It was a lot of fun. As Kaz Jordan and was playing Kung Fu Jesus, and Darcy Moore was playing Judas. But like we set it up on the Lucha Fantastica show, going like, Jesus needs a tag team partner. So Jesus gets out there on the microphone. He goes, I'm going to pick a tag team partner that I know I can trust. This guy's going to always have my back. This guy's blah, blah, blah. He's my best friend. Nothing will ever get between us. Here's my tag partner, Judas. And then Judas came out, and then I made sure to word up Victor. So when Judas eventually turned on Jesus, Victor got on the microphone in his Mexican accent and goes like, oh my God, Judas just turned on Jesus. Who the saw that coming?
Oh my God.
There we go. We had a main event for the next show. It was incredible. We went and filmed this. We went and filmed Jesus and Judas. We were in St Kilda, and we made them like skip down the road holding hands. They were like sharing a Slurpee, and like they went to both of them went to to the straw at the same time. Like, oh, you.
Oh my God.
Oh, man, it was fantastic.
Jesus Christ. All right. I've got to check out more Lucha Fantastica, because I haven't been to one in about a year, so definitely got to see it.
It's fun, mate. Now you've got Sid Parker took over from me on the show. I found myself a suitable replacement. So Sid Parker's been working on those shows with with the team that he's got around him, and they've just been so good, man. They're still a lot of fun.
I've definitely got to check it out. Tommy, thank you for being part of What If It's Cool, and just sharing me some great stories and just being awesome as you are. Thank you, man.
No worries, mate. My agent will be in touch about that 10%.
No worries.
And that's the end of that episode. Want to be featured on What If It's Cool, or know someone who has an interesting story that needs to be told? Reach out to me. I can be reached on whatifitscoolbusiness@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Want more from What If It's Cool? Make sure to check out the YouTube channel, where you can find the latest episodes of Mukbang Around, Reaction, and of course, the vodcast. And don't forget to follow What If It's Cool on all socials. It can be found at What If It's Cool. Keep that support coming. And until next time, I'll catch you on next one. Peace.